Okay, everyone, happy Wednesday to you. And this is take 2 of today's video. Signal dropped. Every day up in these mountains, I'm always chasing that elusive signal. And sometimes I catch it, and sometimes the darn thing just gets away from me like it did this morning. And I'm telling you what, 290 videos ago, that would have bothered me. It doesn't bother me anymore. I just pack up my stuff, start moving around till I can find another signal. So I've got one right now. So let's get this video done before it drops on me and I got to pack up and move out of here again. All right, guys, beautiful day out here, sunshine behind me, snow on the ground. Captain loves the wintertime. I love the wintertime. He's been acting like a puppy. I've been acting like a puppy. We just love it. Neither one of us can stand the hot, suffocating humidity of summer. We love wintertime. But I'm telling you what, even though summertime is one of those times that a lot of people enjoy and some other dogs enjoy, there are many animals who rather prefer the cold than they had the heat. And also, you know, the heat has its own dangers. I've talked about that in previous videos. You got to watch out for those because the animals can overheat very quickly. But the wintertime, we tend to kind of just think that maybe everything's okay. My dog seems like it really loves the snow. It's running around, got all this energy. So there's no harm, right? Well, there can be. In yesterday's video, I talked about if you're going to leave your dog outside for any extended period of time, make sure it's got a nice double coat. Double coat with this big old layer of guard hair that will keep the snow and the wet from getting to their skin, which can then start to create hypothermia. Then they have this under fur, kind of like a fleece lining. Like I have several layers on. In the mountains, you dress with several layers. And that's like an extra layer for your dog. If your dog doesn't have that, then you're going to want to make sure that you provide it in an artificial means for them. And that means you're going to use something like a coat. And there's a lot of coats out there. I looked them up. I don't have one for Captain. He seems to do just fine with it. If I was going to leave him out for a long time, maybe I would put a coat on him. But they come in fleece. You can get a fleece coat for your dog. You can get them in Gore-Tex, where they'll kind of fight off the rain and the moisture and keep them warm underneath. You can also get them with wind resistance. A lot of times the wind will howl through these trees up here, and that wind will cut right into you. The ambient temperature may be about 27, 30, but that wind chill will take it right down into the teens or the single digits. So it's nice to have a buffer for those dogs who have very, very short hair, or they just don't have the ability to fight off the cold. That extra jacket, that extra layer that you can provide for them can go a long ways to keeping them safe and keeping them from getting frostbite and hypothermia when they're out here running around in the cold. Boots. Boots are another thing that you can get for your dogs. There are all sorts of boots with big traction on for like climbing up hills and going down hills. They're waterproof. You can get some that have a lining in them like fleece. They're pretty darn fancy. One thing I found with boots though, with all the dogs I've trained to wear boots, and I remember my sled dogs up in Alaska, they would wear boots. You had to get them used to it. And when you put those boots on them, it's not as bad as a muzzle. But I'm telling you what, they want to spend all their time getting those darn things off. Those must feel really weird on the dog, and they just do not want those boots on them. So my advice is put the boots on and then go play with your dog. Get them preoccupied. Give them a cognitive shift. Make them think about anything and everything but those darn boots on their paws. Get them used to it. Eventually, the animal will habituate to the boots, and it'll provide a blessed relief from getting torn pads from ice and rock salt. So let me talk about that real quick. A lot of people put salt down on their sidewalks, on their porches. They put them down on the roads out here. They put a lot of salt down to de-ice the area. Make it safe for traveling. Let your dog walk on that ice, on that salt, and then go back home and lick it. And I'm here to tell you, it can be fatal to your dog. We had many cases that we had to treat at our veterinary hospital up north because there was lots of snow and people were constantly putting down salt, and their dogs are tracking on the salt. And if it didn't cause ulcers on the bottom of their pads just from all that salt being just dead smack in the middle of every one of those toes that they have, just crusted in there, combined with ice and mud and gravel and dirt, it'll just start to fester. And they'll just break open your dog's paws, which can then lead to another infection, or worse, the dog licks it off and ingests it. Be very careful. If you've walked your dog on any sort of surface that you even believe there's a remote chance that someone used the de-icing salt, that salt that melts the ice, then thoroughly clean your dog's paws if they've not been wearing boots before you bring them back into the house. Or if you see them just suddenly stop on the trail, stop their playing, and start licking those paws, watch out. Clean them off. Okay, next thing you need to do when you bring them in the house, and you'll appreciate this anyway, certainly your furniture will, is dry them off. Yeah, they get wet out here. Even though they have that guard here, that snow's still on there, and that still comes inside the house, where now you got a nice balmy 70 degrees, and it starts to melt, and it starts making everything wet. It soaks your floor, soaks your furniture, soaks them, and they can become a hypothermic from that, from a sudden, rapid decrease in their temperature. You think the opposite because you brought them inside your house where it's warm, but no. Now you get this cold, wet water trying to work its way into your dog's fur and also on the floor where they're going to lie down now on that soft underbelly that's not as protected as that guard fur, doesn't have that guard hair underneath there. Now they start to become very cold. Dry them off when you come in. Always just keep a little towel by the door. Just give them a quick dry off with them, rub them down. Captain loves it. He starts playing with me. I had to make him stop because he wanted to play tug of war. He thought that's a version of tug of war. And I'm like, no, knock it off. I'm trying to dry you off. Then we'll play later. But work on that. It does help quite a bit. Also, know this. Your dogs are going to spend more energy during the wintertime. Just like us humans. We tend to, in the wintertime, eat more, drink more too. But no, I'm not talking about that. Not animals. They tend to eat more like we do, need more because they're burning more calories. The cold makes you burn more energy expenditure. Plus, they're more active in the cold. And the heat, they're just going to go find shade, cool off. But out here, I'm telling you what, I guarantee you, I took Captain on about a 2-mile walk yesterday. He probably did 5. He did 5, zigging and zagging and racing back straight for me, going this way, that way, up the hill, down the hill, just loving it. Expended a ton more energy. And the other thing that we have to watch out for is, again, say with us humans, yeah, you may want to drink some of that other stuff out there, but I'm talking about water. Yeah, you just don't get as thirsty in the winter time. Your body temperature is cooler, and you just don't have that same thirst that accompanies that high heat, where you're sweating, you're always wanting something to drink. It's super easy for you and your dog to become dehydrated during the wintertime. Make sure you always have water available for your dog. And if they are spending a great amount of time outdoors, make sure that water in that bowl doesn't freeze. Don't make them lick that ice. Make sure you have something, some way to keep that water from freezing. And they do make many bowls, many types of bowls that you can plug in. They have conduits so the dogs can't chew it and get electrocuted, but it keeps the water in the bowl from freezing. So look into those if your dog's going to spend a great deal of time outdoors. But think about feeding them a little bit more. I've already increased Captain's feeding since we've been up here in the mountains. He used to get 2 cups a day and a little bit of other stuff mixed in with it. Now I've taken that up about 20% for both meals. And he's not gaining any weight. He still looks pretty darn good to me. But again, he's burning all that off. Think about also if you take your dog out for a trip. A lot of us, I know me in the summertime, if I'm going somewhere, I've got errands to run, I'm going to be in a store or some restaurant for any length of time in the summertime, that's it. I don't take my dogs. They don't get to go. But in the wintertime, we think, hey, let's take our dogs with us. I mean, it's not hot, so we don't have to worry about them being in the car. Well, yeah, you do. Think about it. When you turn off that car, you go sit in your own car. Go hop in it and see how quickly you want to crank it up and get the heat going. Or if you use your little remote starter, let the thing warm up for 30 minutes before you get in it. Think about that. Your car turns into nothing more than an icebox. It's like a big refrigerator on wheels. If you leave your dog, like yesterday when it was down in the low teens, if I'd gone somewhere with Captain and left him in my vehicle for 30 minutes, which is not an unusually long amount of time, especially if you're going to get something to eat, you're trying to pick up carry out, but they don't have it ready, you're going to do errands, run into a hardware store, what have you, you can suddenly come back and find that inside that vehicle is darn near the same temperature as the outside of the vehicle. So watch out for that. A lot of us just don't think about that, but you need to think about it. Especially, again, if you own those dogs who are used to being house dogs. They just don't have a lot of fur, or they're older. They're more geriatric dogs. Keep an eye on them. Okay, and then lastly, keep an eye on yourself. You know, watch yourself. You're no good to your dog out here in this cold if anything happens to you. Your hands can become so cold so quickly that if your dog was to become entangled in the forest, have an issue, you won't be able to help it. You might as well just be trying to use your elbows, because you just cannot do any sort of manual dexterity, anything at all that would require that, because you can't even feel your hands. They might as well just be sticks on the end of your arms. Take care of yourself. Make sure you drink. Make sure you put on a few extra calories, or add a few extra calories to your meals as well, especially if you're spending any great amount of time outdoors. Remember, you are your dog's steward. You got to take care of you before you can worry about taking care of your dog. Kind of like flying in a plane. They tell you, if those oxygen masks ever come down, put it on yourself first, and then start helping out the guy next to you. Same thing goes to dog ownership. Take care of you guys. Definitely do, especially during the wintertime. Things can sneak up on you in a real hurry as well. Stay warm, dress in layers like you see me doing. Have multiple items in your backpack like I've got right here. Always prepared, baby. Always prepared. I always think worst case scenario. And I'm going to be prepared for that. And I want the same thing for Captain, because he's counting on me to be there for him. Okay, guys, so that's it. I'm going to just wrap up our little cold winter series. Here's only 2 days long. Just a couple things to think about when you own a dog, and it's wintertime. It's here. It has arrived. And therefore, you stay safe and keep your dog safe. You good to go, Cal Dog?